here's the beginning of the May Garden tour. As you can see, Trey's um, drift rose that I got him in Florida is about to take over. It's probably about 5 feet across. It's gonna be a good size. Um, this is a carex that my friend Janelle gave me. Looks kind of like bamboo, called Sparkler. Looks like sparklers we played with as kids. Some of us are still kids, play with sparklers. But here is a campanula, a bellflower, just starting to bloom. Has about a 2.5 inch bell-shaped flower. This can get a little bit out of hand, so if it's somewhere happy, it can take over part of your garden. Here's another interesting plant I put in this pot. It's called heliotrope. It smells like vanilla, spicy. It's a little bit temperamental in the heat. Doesn't like water on the leaves. The leaves can kind of brown out on you, but it's still worth it. It's a little hard to find sometimes. And here's a little summer pot I put together. I really like this little euphorbia. It fills in all the empty spaces. It's an interesting little sedum. And this ageratum, I really like it. It's really pretty. There's 2 geraniums. This one over here, it's called crocodile from the leaves. And here's a blue scaevola. Also comes in a white. It's kind of a fun, called fan flower too. There's another name for it. Here's a hardy geranium I really like. Here's another little annual geranium called Herb Roberts. Can take over, but Herb's a little easy to control. You just pull him up. Some snapdragons. This afternoon lights creating a little bit of a spotty camera work here. Hopefully this turns out. Something I discovered the other day, these Indian pinks. Just put this in the ground. Got it at the plant sale at Renolda. There's a catmint. Here's another carex I just got because it has this kind of orangey foliage. I got it for Trey. Orange is his favorite color. Orange sedge is its name. It's really pretty. I like it a lot. Has some salvia going for the hummingbirds. And some milkweed, swamp milkweed for the hummingbirds. And this little gumfrina I really like a lot. I planted it last year. There's quite a bit going on over here. It's one of my favorites. My granny gave me some of these when I was 9 years old. Not these, but some like them. They're tiger lilies, the old-fashioned tiger lilies. And there's 2 more down that way. And this is a really sweet hydrangea. Has a big bloom. It was covered in butterflies last summer, but it stays kind of small. And I've put together a couple hanging baskets. I bought the one big begonia, that torch begonia by itself. Get those begonias in with some concoleus. Coleus was one of my granny's favorite flowers. She was able to overwinter hers. She liked them so much, but I tried it a couple times, but not as much luck as my great-grandmother had. Here's a pretty little maple leaf viburnum. I really like a lot. Just coming in, blooming same time as the native ones are blooming around here. And still got a few little wood poppies, celadon poppy. couple of columbine still going around. So, and over here is Solomon seal. There's Buddha. It's an Irish yew. I like that guy a lot. There's a couple of little friends I got in the forest last year and I put in the ground. There's a foxglove that's really coming on now. These guys are biennials. Some people don't want to grow them take 2 years to bloom. They seed and grow 1 year and bloom the second, and then they're done. Some people that's a lot of trouble for a 2-year annual, but foxglove and lunaria, wind's getting up. There's a few things that my book it's worth it. This is Trey's Colorado blue spruce. You can see where it gets the name. Crazy blue new foliage is really pretty and striking. So I hit pause, come over here in a little shade garden beside the patio. This kind of stuff that can take a little bit of sun. Hosta, hellebore, zepimedium. This catmint just started coming on. Here's a clematis I got from Lowe's 2 years ago. And this one from my gardening partner in crime, Janelle, she gave me. It has just really come on. Really beautiful. I love that deep, really deep purple bloom. And the one from Lowe's as well. It's blooming both sides. Double whammy. We got some escapes coming up. Gonna bloom here on the daylilies. There's one coming up here. Here's some hyssop just setting a bloom. Smells like anise, licorice smell. I really like it a lot. There's an allium, flowering onion, some people say. I'll walk up the driveway. This is a large osmanthus. There's a little tiny white flower on it. It smells really sweet. And right beside you can just begin to see the see-through verbena. It gets really tall. The Edo peonies have finished blooming. 2 out of 3 bloomed this year. That was exciting. Here's some oregano and rosemary growing together. I like the English cottage garden. Everybody grows together. Some people say good fences make good neighbors. I think decent, friendly people make good neighbors. Can't we just all get along? Here's a pretty little variegated thyme next to a bright limey oregano. Some coreopsis behind. Should have some bees all over it, but fortunately they're not here. This malva's reseeded itself. There's one little bloom hiding in there. And there's some bee balm. And this little lady has been spectacular. This is Phlox Mini Pearl. Hello, wind. Let's be gentle on everybody. This is Trey's Dianthus. Has a really nice spicy scent to it. Kind of a vanilla, a little bit of spice to it. This is Caryopteris. Another plant Janelle gave me. Has really pretty blue flowers on it. It'll be covered in bees late in the summer. I like to say that Caryopteris reminds me of a dinosaur. triceratops or something like that. This is a aster that blooms in the fall. And on this side, here's a catmint that's trying to eat the sidewalk. It's about 6 feet across. Bees really love it. I don't see any in here right now, unfortunately. There's usually a bunch of bumblebees in here. There's a peony that we moved from Mom's. It's one of the late ones, coming on late. Lamium, purple dragon. It's just really crazy pretty. It's covering the feet of this Japanese maple. It's late in the afternoon, there's a little bit of road noise. Sorry about that if you can hear it. This is a bronze fennel. I haven't found any caterpillars on this one yet. There's some caterpillars on the other bed closer to the highway. We'll go check in a little bit. Here's some of those little foxglove I told you about that reseeds. There was one planted in here in that little area last year. So these little guys have seeded. Some of these small ones I can move, but I need to do it soon while they're little. They have a taproot. They don't like to be disturbed and lifted up. Here's another allium, different type. These really pretty peach colored irises I rescued. We lived in Asheville. It's been really spectacular. This is a salvia that's actually hardy here called Black and Blue. It's just set blooms coming on. Here's a white salvia. Sage, some people say. They all have a scent, smells like cat pee if you crush the leaf. That's a good indicator it's in the salvia family. Another Caryopteris. This is an interesting little plant. See how it does. It's called a hummingbird plant. It's set quite a few little, starting to set blooms. So apparently it's covered up with red flowers that the hummingbirds really like. So hopefully we can feed those guys a little bit. So there's quite a bit going on. It's hard to get it all together at one time. This bed I just put in last year. Got a little bit happening in here. Most things are young and small, except here's the Calycanthus sweet bubby bush, still blooming. These columbine reseeded themselves. And amongst this Henry's garnet itea has really striking foliage, turns really bright red, hence the name Henry's garnet in the fall. There's a black dragon cryptomeria, another fun name to say. Just don't ask this dyslexic kid to spell it. This is a hardy cactus a friend of mine gave me. You can see there's just all kinds of blooms set in here. Careful not to touch her too much. These blooms are just a highway yellow, safety yellow color. It's so intense the camera can't really pick up the color when they're blooming. Got a few little marigolds, they're still small. I love marigolds, always have. A roof iris, Stokes aster, Stokesia. Here's a bear's breeches. Here's the little verbena just starting to bloom, called Santos Purple. It's more of a ground cover sprawly verbena. And there's another Malvia that's seated herself in here. Here's one of my favorites, Rose Campion. I love that contrast, that intense magenta pink against that really like lamb's ear type foliage. Hardy geranium, There's another allium gonna bloom. Like I said, most everything in here is young and small right now. There's that lemony lace elderberry. It's pretty bright. Camera shows it up a little brighter than it really is, but this is Gara. I like this a lot. It looked really pretty in the beds at Biltmore and kind of got me intrigued by it. Comes in white to pink colors. It has these long spires that grows out 3 or 4 feet long and blooms all the way out. Kind of, it's a nice fill in between the spaces kind of plant. Here's Trey's daylilies. Has the Bambi protection cage on it. They're not really good at social distancing in our garden, so gotta do what we can. Keep everybody happy. Here's a Baptisia I just put in the ground. It's flagging a little bit in the heat because it just has that little root ball it came with. People don't always realize it needs a little more attention for a couple of weeks till it gets its feet in the ground. So just you putting new things out in the garden, just realize the root ball they have is what you put in the ground, and so give them a little TLC till they can take off. This is a pretty little downy wood mint. Flowers are kind of fuzzy looking all the way up the stem. Here's another foxglove, and these small ones here will bloom next year, and this one will reseed itself this year. So once you get in a cycle, you've got 1-year-old ones and then ones that are going to seed. You'll have some ones that'll bloom every year, and so you're not like actually waiting 2 years at a time. So here's a project I'm working on across the front of the house. It's that whole little half moon shape. We'll walk up there, take a look. So my neighbor's across the street, he has a tree company, and he brought me all this mulch to smother out the grass. I wasn't able to do sheet mulching with cardboard, which is the smart thing to do, and totally suffocate the grass, but it's a work in progress. Sorry for the loud truck. So we'll see what happens. This is a Japanese Styrex. Has a little white bloom on it. It's really pretty. I have a pink one. If I remember, I'll show that one to you. There's more Henry's Garnet. Itea. This is a really pretty goldy arborvitae. Stays smaller. This is a yellow twig dogwood. This is American beautyberry. Has these crazy lavender, deep lavender, fuchsia pink berries on where the nodes join the branch in the fall. It looks kind of alien, like little, almost like crawdad egg clusters on the nodes. It's really cool. This is a Japanese Spirea, one of the few things that was here when we moved in. Has this really pretty kind of soft fuzzy bloom, and after it's bloomed I'll cut it back pretty hard, and then it will bloom again, and then in the fall it's just crazy beautiful sunset colors, all the way from a yellowy gold to orangey reds. It's really pretty. This is a little aster I got from called Lady in Black. I cut it back and it's starting to branch out, so it'll be fuller. This is a little small Deutzia, and it's about 2 feet high. I've got some by the house that are about 12 feet high. I'll show you in a little bit. I really like this. Is another hyssop agastache back behind called Golden Jubilee. It'll be blooming soon. The bees will be all over it. And a butterfly bush for the butterflies. And here's butterfly weed, the native, at least native in North Carolina. It's getting ready to bloom. Has the orange, flat, wide blooms on it. Clusters of blooms. And here's a Japanese maple bloodgood. And here's what I was talking about. We have to be careful in our yard with deer. You can see where Bambi's dad took the side out of this arborvitae about a week after I got it in the ground. It was kind of disappointing, but I just have to remember to cover up the evergreens whenever deer season is, well, when the deers are in rut in the fall. So here's little poppies, California poppies that sprinkled around. Here's a big cluster I've been posting on Facebook. I love these guys. They've kind of consumed this little beautyberry that's in here, but it'll be okay. These guys will be gone pretty quick. Poppies are kind of a flash in the pan, but they're really easy to just throw the seed out. They come up, do their thing, and they're gone. There's another beautyberry behind me. Man, this wind's crazy. There's 3 beautyberries here, along with all these violets I have to do something with. This is a surprise I found the other day. This is possum haw holly, and you have to have a male and a female to get berries, and I found berries the other day right here. So that was exciting. I just took a chance. I bought 2 at the Renolda Garden native plant sale in the fall. And there we go. Here's a large calycanthus I just transferred. Fringinale. Let's get away from the road. That way maybe you can hear me. Hope it doesn't turn out too bad. This is a fringe tree. It's a native. A spice bush that actually had these beautiful swallowtail, spice bush swallowtail caterpillars took to it last year, so I'm hopeful. This is black-eyed Susan. This is a chase tree, Vitex. Has large or long elongated purple-blue flowers on it later on in the summer. And if you did hit it, it'll keep blooming. Some more black-eyed Susans, another beautyberry, American beautyberry. This is echinacea. Like I said, most of this is going to be natives in here. There's another rose campion. Poppies. This is a really pretty, it's another type of spirea. And it has, these blooms will be kind of grow out long and kind of a plumy, about 4 to 5 inches long, and they're a little bit on the fuzzy side, a soft lavender color. So we'll go over here, this bed. Okay, so I remembered this time. This is the pink Styrax. It's about 3.5 feet tall. It's almost at the end, but it has those little bell-shaped flowers that hang down. It has a little bit of fragrance to it. It's about 15 to 20 feet high, mature size. So now we'll go over to this bed. And this is my Rugosa rose. It's purple. Purple is my favorite color, and orange is Trey's favorite color. So we planted these last year, again in the deer-proof fence. This is Lady Emma Hamilton. It's a David Austin rose. It has crazy beautiful scent. It's a citrus, rose, vanilla spice. It's hard to describe, obviously, but just the most interesting, intense fragrance with the rose, even though it still has that rose scent to it. We found one of these at Biltmore one year, and So we ordered one from Dave and Austin Roses. And right in front of there, these guys I'm totally stoked about. It's clary sage. They're about 20 inches high right now, and then a couple weeks they'll bloom. These again are biennials. Totally worth it in my opinion. It took them 2 years to get this size, and they'll bloom. Has a big tall spike that'll come up another 18 inches. A little bit looser than a foxglove, but still that kind of cone shaped bloom when it rises up. Here's Trey's Spanish lavender, still beautiful. Going on, there's another little lavender just getting ready to bloom. Peonies are finished. There's another more established Baptisia, Jacob Klein. Bee balm behind this really pretty shrub type St. John's wort. It's gonna bloom, has a pretty little yellow bloom on it. Oh, there's a little bit of color in there, maybe you can see. Here again is that aromatic aster. You smell the leaves, has a nice little scent to it. Here's one of my favorites. It's a Mexican sage. Has these purple fuzzy blooms in the fall, and it's listed as an annual in our area. This one has been here, this is its 3rd season, and it survived 3 winters in Asheville, and I moved it. So there you go. And these Baptisia has a really pretty pea-shaped bloom. Here's some irises we moved from my brother's house when he passed, so we brought him along with us. There's a Becky daisy back there. This pretty coppery colored is a euphorbia. I got it, they're an old to sale. I'm gonna see what that does. Here's wild bergamot, Monarda fistulosa. It's in the bee balm family. And here's Trey's witch hazel I planted for him. Walk around the end here. Okay, here's a really small elderberry. I just set these guys out. Here's another one. This is John. This is Adam. That's their given names. I didn't name them John and Adam. Apparently they stay a little smaller and a more compact growth habit than the large native. This guy right here, and John and Adam have a profusion of fruit, and they cross-pollinate each other very well. Here's the other large bronze fennel, and right here is a little caterpillar friend. Thinking these are tiger swallowtails. Here's another one. These guys are really small, but it is a habitat for tiger swallowtail, so I think that's who it is. Hopefully. There's some more black-eyed Susans. Deutzia. This elderberry has just set a whole lot of bloom. If the wind will settle down so I can show it to you. And here's some lemon balm front in here. Very bright lemon smell. And here, and some people might think I'm crazy. Actually, a lot of people think I'm crazy, but just a spearmint. And it's, yes, it is planted in the ground, and it's running wild and free, and I'm probably crazy, but we'll see what happens. These are the big 2 large viburnums that were blooming the other week. And here is peppermint. Yes, Peppermint, unsupervised, untethered, kind of like myself. So let's see what happens. Okay, we'll go over this part of the garden. So this is a mature size black dragon cryptomeria. You can see they get 6, 7, 8 feet tall. This one will get a little bushy, but they stay in that upright spire columnar formation. And again, the cryptomeria is something I like to say. Of course, you see my greenhouse. I'm not going to need that much longer since hopefully we've had our last frost. Here's another type of Carex. Colossus Sedge Blue Zinger. Got it at Painters last year. Peony, they're still in Peony. This one came from Mom's in Morganton. Here's some Black Barlow Columbine that reseeded. I've stuck some Casablanca lilies. I think that's what I put in here. This is another treasure from my friend Janelle. It's called Swainitz Sunflower. It's a native. It's about 18 to 20 inches high right now. It's a little endangered because we keep building subdivisions. Right next to a hydrangea. Some more reseeded columbine. This is a really gorgeous crepe myrtle called Catawba. Has a really deep magenta, or not magenta, lavender flower later on that summer. It's really pretty. There's another mini pearl. You can see I like mini pearl. And back there is a Carolina climbing aster. It's a native. Another Coreopsis. Here's one of the few peonies still hanging on. This is a single bloom, which is interesting. Here's the rather large Hollywood juniper that Bambi's dad, you can see, scraped in here in the fall, so I had to put a fence around it. This is another Spirea, has a white cluster bloom early in the spring. This is a large, obviously large, to the top of the eave, mock orange shrub. It is not as heavily scented as the one that was beside the house I grew up in as a kid. It actually smelled like an orange tree in bloom, not quite as intense as the citrus version, but hence the name mock orange. And these deutzias I was telling you about. So yeah, a little bit bigger than the 20-inch ones out front. These huge white sprays of flowers. Really spectacular right now. When they finish flowering, I'm going to shape them up a little bit. Bring them back down. Saturday I set some pots of some things to put out here. It's an airplane in the background, sorry about that. This is a Camellia japonica. Blooms early in the spring, can be as early as January, February. It's called Jax, has a really pretty double pink bloom on it. And this is a Camellia sasanqua, blooms in the fall. This is a Japanese Caria, has a bright yellow bloom. Deer really like the buffet, so it's set back there to maybe Bambi won't eat it too much. And there's a little pot, that Hypertufa pot I made, and put a, oh, there goes Chipmunk. Lavender in it for a tray. Our soil's a little heavy, so I thought might try one. Lavenders don't like heavy clay wet soil. You got to think Mediterranean, so we'll see what happens. Put some portulaca around. Fortunately, there's two of them are orange, his favorite color. And here's a couple more Hypertufa pots I've made. Got them out here have to let the free lime out of the Portland cement dissipate before you put things in them. I've washed these and the rain's hit them a couple times. They've been outside a couple weeks. I even dipped them in a vinegar bath to neutralize it. So hopefully I'll pot those up really soon. Okay, hope you enjoyed it.